want to tell you about something that scares me more than any beast, otherworldly creature, or sociopathic killer. This thing, it's endemic and lurks among us. In every house, store, school, we celebrate it, even as it rots our minds. I'm talking about the internet. Yeah, I know. But listen, it's not just Googling the capital of Maine or writing a blog. There's been a change, an infiltration of an insidious underbelly that's trying to turn us into ravenous buying machines. This underbelly, its foundation is built on deception, AI-generated articles, phony altered images, dating app bots, perfect influencers. It's repetitive, coercive content that doesn't want you to think. It wants you to buy. Over and over. Folks call this wave of consumer cancer the slop. Not to date myself, but I know what life was before the slop, before the internet even existed at all, when human connection in real life was the only choice you had. Even so, when I'm stressed out, I don't want to think about the crap I have to do, I find myself mindlessly scrolling on my phone, disappearing into a world of algorithms and clickbait. Yeah, I get into the slop, just as much as anyone. Grandma would have hated it. But a few months ago, that changed. I was given a gift certificate for a weekend retreat in the Illinois countryside, a well-meaning birthday present from my agent. The program was sort of a tech cleanse, designed to help folks disconnect. I'll try anything once, so yeah, I went. The retreat was a quaint farmstead, surrounded by trees. It was lovely, peaceful. But as soon as I got there and approached the reception, I felt an itch, the need to look at my phone. The woman who checked me in gave me a sympathetic grin. Her name was Kara, and she knew an addict when she saw one, meaning me. Kara was the program director, and according to her, I needed to kick my tech addiction ASAP. See, the slop wasn't just some gross way companies sell stuff. It was more than that. It was a toxic wave of chaos that would one day drown all the good. It would destroy creativity, philosophy, problem solving, you name it. Once this thing had its way, we wouldn't be able to think for ourselves anymore. In fact, Kara was convinced that eventually humanity wouldn't exist at all. You're listening to Run, Fool! I'm Rodney Barnes, and this is episode 62, The Slop. Kara told me a cautionary tale about her best friend in the world, Jenny. They'd grown up together in Chicago and were almost like sisters. Even as adults, they did everything together. Then, Kara got married, had a kid. She still loved Jenny, but naturally they started spending a lot more time apart. It should have been fine. They're adults. Life happens. Except a few months ago, Jenny went through it. She lost her job. Her mom passed. Then her favorite sweater ripped. That last one wasn't so bad, but it was a pile-on, you see. And Jenny didn't feel like she had many folks to talk to about it. She was in her late 30s. All her friends were like Kara, married, with kids, or busy in their thriving careers. Jenny was alone, with no job, no mom, and no cozy cardigan to keep her warm. So she started spending a lot of time on her phone, scrolling through socials, checking out products and reviews, reading celebrity gossip, exploring houses on Zillow she couldn't afford. We've all done it, except Jenny's scrolling was the only thing she did. Her 9 to 5. She spent days and nights on her couch, eyes glued to her phone. Of course, at some point she'd start to feel even worse about herself, usually around 4 a.m. or so, because eventually, every pristine account she clicked on, every perfect influencer she followed, would start to remind her that she was broke and alone. One day she was on her couch reading an article about the royals that somehow led her to an ad for shampoo. When she went to buy the shampoo, a link popped up and asked Jenny if she wanted to get away from it all. It seemed to be for some immersive experience. Its copy was vague, though. Something about a technicolor world, an oasis from the mundane plot of reality. But it didn't say what it was. Jenny's finger hovered over the link, but something stopped her. This prickly feeling at the back of her neck, the kind that felt like a warning. The link suddenly vanished as a loud ringing cut through the air. It was Kara, calling her. Kara had been reaching out a lot, actually, checking in on her. But Kara's joy was too real. It reminded Jenny of all the stuff wrong in her own life. She'd rather immerse herself in the phony, loud world of the internet. Jenny rejected Kara's call and went back to that link. An oasis from reality sounded pretty great right now. So, she ignored that instinctive warning prickle and clicked on it. Nothing happened. Then, everything happened. A searing pain roared through her head, making Jenny gasp. The world went fuzzy, sort of pixelated. The colors blended together in a dizzying way that made Jenny's stomach twist into knots. She felt bile rush up her throat as the room swirled. Its scenery emerged like a pinwheel, until it became a vibrant, color-streaked tunnel. Jenny reached for the couch to steady herself, but it wasn't there. Her hand waved through the air into nothing. She couldn't tell where she was. She wasn't floating exactly. Her body was just existing, like it had transcended gravity or the rules of the world. It was such a horrific, rancid feeling that it made a scream rise in her throat. But before she could release it, everything went black. It was a deep black, suffocating. It wasn't dark, though. Jenny could see her hands and feet, but the walls and floor and ceiling were an inky, undefinable absence of anything. She tried to make sense of it. 1 minute she'd been on her couch, now, was this her apartment? Somewhere else? The lack of anything tangible in this black chamber made her claustrophobic. Her palms sweat and her heartbeat ticked up a notch. Then another. A whine leaked from her throat. She was panicking. That's when she saw it, a few yards away, a door, or what she thought was a door. A rectangle of glowing light hovered in the air, a potential way out. She hurried over, reaching it in just a few strides. She placed her palms in the center of the rectangle and pushed. The door swung open. The black was gone. In its place was color. Lots of it. Lines of bright, pixelated hues, like the standby screen for an 80s news channel. Jenny stepped in, just as a dark shadow ran behind her. She whipped around, but there was nothing. The door wasn't even there. In its place, those lines of pixels, shimmering and shuddering, all around her, like she'd fallen into a fritzing TV. She would have puzzled over it a bit, but she felt something. A light tap on her shoulder. She turned and came face to face with a smiling woman. Her mouth was bizarrely large, teeth for days. She was dressed in a pantsuit, with a microphone in hand. She opened her big old mouth and said,
"The drinking water is toxic."
As soon as the words left her mouth, 2 hands grabbed Jenny and yanked her around. It was a guy, dressed the same as the woman, also with a huge mouth, also with a microphone. His maw hinged open to say,
"The drinking water is safe."
Jenny staggered back. The 2 mouth people stared at her, parroting their phrases over and over. The water was safe. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. Their voices kept going, just as Jenny backed into another person, a man with an even bigger mouth. He screamed, "The Kardashians are bankrupt." The force of his shout was so powerful Jenny felt his breath whip against her cheek. Then, someone yanked her arm, hard. She yelped and looked into another face. This one was just a talking head, with the biggest mouth of them all. It opened wide, and from the deep recesses of their throat, they bellowed,
"The Kardashians are thriving. See the controversial shoe they've turned into a summer must-have."
The voices roared around
The
her,
drinking water
repeating their
is
lines
toxic.
again and
The
again
drinking water is
about the
safe.
drinking water. and the
Kardashians are
Kardashians.
bankrupt.
Soon, more floating heads
The
appear
Kardashians
with
are
wide,
thriving.
gory mouths,
See the
screaming
controversial
disparate
shoe
pieces of
they've
news
turned
at
into
Jenny
a summer
till her
must-have.
eardrums throbbed. The heads bobbed around, floating in the colorful abyss like beads on a pearl necklace. Then they moved faster and faster until they blurred, becoming part of the pixelated background, a smear of noise and vapid shouts. Their aching roar felt like it was going to split Jenny's head open. She staggered forward on unsteady legs and looked for a way out. There, she saw a break in the pixels. Behind the heads, another rectangle, just like the one that led her to this wretched place. She didn't stop to think. She threw herself into a run, sprinting forward, through the shouts that vibrated her eardrums and the forceful breath from dozens of faces that sent a flurry of wind through her hair. She slammed her shoulder into the door. It swung open, and she tumbled through to the other side. She hit the ground hard, elbow first. It sent a shock of pain through her arm, but she shook it off. Looked behind her. The door was gone. She slowly stood. After that, it took 2 seconds to realize this new room wasn't a respite. It was hell.
Will you rise with the sun to help change mental health care forever? Join the Sunrise Challenge to raise funds for CAMH, the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, to support life-saving progress in mental health care. From May 26th to 30th, Canadians will rise as one and show those living with mental illness and addiction that they're not alone. Help CAMH build a future where no one is left behind. So, who will you rise for? Register today at sunrisechallenge.ca. That's sunrisechallenge.ca.
The white chocolate macadamia cream cold brew from Starbucks is made just the way you like it. Handcrafted cold foam topped with toasted cookie crumble. It's a sweet summer twist on iced coffee. Your cold brew is ready at Starbucks.
Jenny was standing in a deep crimson room. Like its walls, floor, and ceiling were coated in blood. It was empty, but not quiet. A new roar rose around her. Voices, disembodied ones that came from everywhere and nowhere. They weren't just yelling for the fun of it. They were spewing vitriol. And it was all aimed at Jenny and everything she ever put online. They said her social media profiles were disgusting. She looked stupid in that brunch photo. Ugly, old, lonely. They ripped apart a photo of her family dog. They called the book she posted about offensive. They screamed that her graduation photo was doctored, that her mom deserved to die. Each shout, and there were plenty, made Jenny's stomach churn. The pulsing hatred made her ears burn. She could feel their taunts in her very bones. She looked around frantically until she saw another glowing rectangle a few yards away. She barreled towards it, then dove inside, face first. The door slammed behind her, and it was finally quiet. Jenny stood, wiped the sweat from her eyes. She was through another door, sure, but it still wasn't her apartment. Instead, it was another black room. This one wasn't empty, though. It was full of vanities, a fleet of tables with oval-shaped mirrors floating over them. They extended as far as she could see. There must be thousands, or millions, all spread across the floor of a never-ending black space. Jenny didn't see another door, but she also knew she couldn't keep running through doors until the end of time. She had to figure out a way to get home. She looked at the vanities. She hadn't tried interacting with one of these spaces yet. Maybe that was the key to getting out. So, she stepped forward and looked into a mirror, expecting to see her own reflection. Instead, she saw a woman in her 20s, wearing a bathing suit, lounging by a pool. There was a tube of pricey-looking sunscreen on her lap. When Jenny looked at her, the woman sat up, lifted the sunscreen, and said something like, her skin looked great because of this SPF. A link to the website popped up in the mirror, floating above the woman's smiling face. Here was the weird thing. Jenny really wanted that sunscreen. Because yeah, the woman was gorgeous. And she just said the product was the reason she looked so great. So Jenny reached forward, finger poised over the link. But that prickly feeling returned. The same one she'd felt when the link to this whole experience had popped up. Jenny realized it wasn't just some weird itch. It was her gut. You know, my grandma used to tell me all the time, when I didn't know what to do or what choice to make, pay attention to my body. Many times I've avoided sticky situations just by listening to my bones. That kind of instinct is diminished in folk who surround themselves with tech and artificial happiness, so Jenny hadn't felt it in a while. That's why it took her a minute to recognize it. But when she did, she knew. Her gut was telling her not to click that link, that this place was toxic, evil. She stepped back and moved to another mirror. This one had a cute couple in it, doing a coordinated dance. They grinned at Jenny as they moved. Jenny was actually a good dancer, but she hadn't done it in a while. Be nice to get back in the mix. Soon as that thought entered her mind, a link popped up in the mirror, telling her she could buy the couple sneakers. Great for dancing, great for style. Jenny swallowed, because she really liked those sneaks. She suddenly yearned for them, so much that it bothered her. Because it was like this place knew exactly what she wanted, before she even knew she wanted it. It could almost read her mind. That's when it occurred to Jenny. This was an algorithm. This place was designed to present her with the things she'd love and entice her to buy them. Something told Jenny, her gut maybe, she needed to resist. Instead, she had to focus on finding a way out. Jenny moved between mirrors, looking at perfect people, selling her perfect products, each more desirable and specific to Jenny than the last. Each time, she got closer and closer to pressing on a link, but each time, she listened to her gut, until she came across a mirror that didn't have any influencer or link. It just showed Jenny, and she looked terrible. Bloodshot eyes, her cheekbones jutted out like she hadn't eaten in weeks. She had a haunting look to her, like the loneliness and bitterness she felt inside was manifesting in her face. It filled her with loathing. She cursed herself for not buying that sunscreen, or those shoes, or any of the crap she'd seen in the mirrors. She needed that stuff, because without it, she was old, hollow, and useless. She considered going back to the mirrors, but before she could, her reflection flickered, just for a minute. It was enough to remind her of where she was, trapped in an unknown sadistic place that she needed to get out of. But when she glanced over her shoulder, she had a feeling that might be difficult. The mirrors had gone fuzzy. Their glass reflections were now full of static. At the same time, a flurry of murmurs swept through the air. Voices, tinny and high-pitched. Behind them was a low thrum of feedback. This chaotic chatter rose in volume until Jenny saw something that made her go cold all over. Hands protruding from the vanities. The people in the mirrors were coming out.
Whoa! Is that the new Kia Sportage?
Yeah, I just got it.
I love the updated styling and the distinctive LED lighting.
And check this out. No key needed with digital key on my phone.
Oh.
And I can check it remotely on the Kia Connect app.
I heard it also comes in a hybrid and a plug-in hybrid.
It does, with a quiet ride and unbelievable fuel economy.
The new Kia Sportage is here. Visit kia.ca to learn more.
Kia, movement that inspires.
The Hot Honey McCrispy is so back at McDonald's. With juicy 100% Canadian raised seasoned chicken, shredded lettuce, crispy jalapenos, and that completely craveable hot honey sauce, it's a sweet heat repeat you don't want to miss. Get your Hot Honey McCrispy today. Available for a limited time only at McDonald's.
An army of pixelated arms and limbs emerged from the mirrors. Their heads followed, accompanied by pristine, blemish-free faces. They were all rippling in unison, a collective shiver of code, like some kind of deranged hive mind, waiting to suck Jenny into their clutches. She took off, running between the vanities, as more of the ethereal influencer bots emerged. She quickened her pace, trying to stay ahead of the tide. A scream rose in her throat as she moved, hurtling past the mirrors until, up ahead, she saw it. A rectangle of glowing light, a door out of this hellhole, or at least into a different hellhole. But she'd deal with that later. Or maybe she wouldn't. because seconds later she felt a cold, vaporous hand caress her arm. Then another, soothing, high-pitched voices whispered in her ears about products and tutorials and telling Jenny to come, get ready with them. A hand grabbed her by the throat, stopping her flight. Its touch tingled like a frigid rush of electricity. She couldn't see the hand's owner, and it didn't matter, because many more soon joined it. Dozens of fingers pried her jaw open. As the sweater floated above her, she loved it. It was soft, fluffy, the perfect shade of peach, slightly oversized, just like the one that had ripped, but better. Then, Jenny watched the sweater shoot towards her open mouth. She felt its soft fibers wrap around her tongue as it was literally jammed down her throat. She tried to scream, but she couldn't. Breathing wasn't even an option. That sweater was suffocating her. She looked up as the faces gathered above, a thick canopy of AI bots. Then, they each held up their products, a robo-cleaner, an at-home manicure kit, a state-of-the-art air fryer. One by one, the bots shoved their goodies into Jenny's mouth. Her cheeks bulged as the internet's trash filled her to the brim. Tears streamed down her cheeks, which were stretched to the limit, burning as her skin went taut and raw. She closed her eyes and tried to come to terms with the fact that the winding tunnel of internet goodies and gossip and crap was actually going to kill her. It was funny. She'd always liked the algorithm. You know, being offered products that were perfectly suited to her interest. She never dreamed it would be used against her. That's when Jenny understood something. See, the algorithm gave her what she wanted. That's what all this junk being crammed into her mouth was. Stuff she'd buy. So maybe, to get out of here, she just had to want something else. She closed her eyes and thought as hard as she could about her apartment, her couch, her cocoon of comfort. She let the image burn into her mind till she longed for it more than anything. All of a sudden, the fatal mass in her throat vanished. She felt herself suspended in nothing. A thick, humid breeze whipped around her. And then, her fingers brushed against a rough performance fabric. A lumpy cushioning appeared underneath her. She'd know that dip in the springs anywhere. She opened her eyes. She was back, in her living room. The sounds of Chicago moaned against her windows. Jenny let out a relieved, panicked laugh. She did it. She actually got out of that. Well, she had no idea what that was, if it'd been real, if it wasn't. But Jenny didn't get too much time to debate that. Because just as her heart started to slow down, she heard something. A sort of babbling. It sounded like voices, talking over one another. And behind them was a soft, static sound. Jenny looked next to her, on the couch, where her phone was. The screen was dark, but the sound seemed to be coming from its speakers. A cold wave of panic washed over her. Sweat beads popped up against her body. She could feel a trickle slide down her back, because she recognized that tinny noise. It sounded a lot like the racket she'd heard in that digital door place. That's when she knew. She may have left the terrifying wasteland of Slop, but it had followed her. Jenny didn't hang around to see what happened next. Every instinct she had told her to leave, now, so she grabbed her coat and ran. Before she knew it, she was striding through the windy winter streets of Chicago, coat pulled tight against her, feeling an aching relief as the icy air hit her cheeks. The sidewalk was crowded. She wove between people as she moved past a movie theater, some AMC with a big digital marquee outside. When she looked up, she froze. The marquee was filled with faces. The gorgeous influencers all stared down at her with gummy smiles. That high-pitched babble floated through the city air, the sound of nothing and everything, gibberish and static. It made the hair on the back of her neck stand up and her head ache. Jenny quickened her pace. There was a bus stop ahead and a city bus was pulling up to her. Jenny ran to catch her. She jumped aboard and exhaled in relief as she found a seat. The bus started moving, away from the movie theater. but Jenny could still hear it. The technobabble. It was even louder. It took her just a second to realize why. All the passengers were on their phones, eyes glued to their screens, and each device, tablet, what have you, was leaking that nauseating sound. Jenny lunged for the stop request cord and yanked it. The bus grinded to a halt, and Jenny flew off. She staggered down the street, nearly puking as she passed an Apple store, because each screen inside held a horrid artificially altered face, staring at Jenny, moaning that gut-wrenching sound that no one seemed to hear but her. Jenny stumbled through the throngs of people, making her way back to her apartment, which didn't make much sense, but she was disoriented, confused, panicked, and that was honestly the best she could do, except when she got inside, she felt like she'd made a mistake. Because her TV was staring at her. A beautiful, unblemished AI woman peered from the screen. Eyes bore into Jenny's. The woman opened her mouth, and that rancid, babbling static spewed out. Then, the woman lifted a hand and reached through the screen. Her shimmering, pixelated fingers stretched into Jenny's living room. It wasn't just the TV either. Jenny looked at her phone on the couch. A hand came out of that, too. She bolted from the room, but the smart clock in the hallway was wailing. Shimmering hands of code stretched out of its face. Everywhere she looked, there was tech. Her lamps had smart bulbs. The scale in her bathroom used Wi-Fi, and each piece of equipment had an army of bots rising out of it. The only place Jenny could go was the hall closet. She flung herself inside and slammed the door. Jenny sank to the dark floor and wrapped her trembling arms around herself. As she listened to the pulse outside, it was getting louder. The hallway light refracted and shimmered under the door. Then, a pair of glowing pixelated fingers reached into the gap. Another hand joined. Then, another. Jenny opened her mouth and let out a prolonged, desperate scream. One that was so intense it made her throat sore, like nails, scraping at her lungs. She might have kept going, but she heard something different from the goading static. A knock at her door. It was like a magic bullet. As soon as that knock happened, the bot's fingers vanished. Her apartment went quiet, and a voice called her name. It was Kara, her best friend, the woman I met at the retreat, who'd been trying to get in touch with Jenny, when all Jenny wanted to do was slip away from the world. But now, hearing her friend's voice, well, Jenny was all in on returning to reality. She sprang out of the closet and ran to the front door. She swung it open. There she was, Kara, standing at the entrance with a worried look. She started to tell Jenny that she'd been trying to reach her, but Jenny lunged forward and wrapped Kara in her arms. Tears poured down her cheeks as she relaxed into the warmth of her friend's body. It was magical to feel another person. It had been a long, long time since Jenny had hugged someone. Maybe that's why the bots had left. Because humanity, human connection, it wins every time. You just have to know how to fight through the slop. At some point, Jenny pulled back to tell Kara that she missed her, and she was sorry she'd been hard to reach. Except, when Jenny looked at Kara's face, it was wrong. It looked like Kara, but for a second, pixelated, went all stiff. Then, Kara smiled, opened her mouth, and released a wail of techno noise, like a surge of digital bile, as Jenny screamed and screamed and screamed. Kara told me when she got to the apartment that day, Jenny didn't answer. She had to get the super to let her in, because Jenny hadn't picked up her calls or returned her texts in days. No one had spoken to her. So yeah, Kara was worried, as any good friend would be. When the building super finally let her in, Jenny was on the couch, staring into space. with her phone in her hand and the TV on, playing static. Jenny was catatonic, in some kind of vegetative coma state. She never woke up. Kara got her to an assisted care center. That's where she is today. As for Kara, she runs these tech detox weekends at least once a year. Makes sure that she reconnects with the world and helps others do the same. See, Kara thought the slot was an existential threat to humanity. It's designed to isolate us. But we don't understand we're alone until it's too late, because it takes away our capacity to think for ourselves. It distracts us, warps us, makes us forget who we are. She wanted to be clear, we're all at risk of succumbing to this thing. But if we continue to reach out for those we love and stop to appreciate the beauty around us, the real beauty, we'll be okay. When Kara finished, I took a breath, felt the air run through my lungs and pour out between my lips. Yeah, she was right. No matter how bad things got, life didn't deserve to be ignored. I didn't want to spend the rest of my short time on this earth looking down at a screen, especially one that wanted to rot my brain and drain my bank account. No, from here on out, I was going to look up. At the time, I meant it. I really did. But you know what they say. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Want to know what happened next? Then head over to joinrunfool.com today. That's JOINRUNFOOL.com. You can sign up for longer, scarier episodes, ad-free listening, and exclusive Ask Me Anything sessions. Sign up now at joinrunfool.com. Don't walk, run, fool!